All right, guys. The name of this sermon is going to be called Something Stolen. Something Stolen. Uh, it's kind of funny. Getting ready for this sermon, something was on my mind as I was getting my verses, my scriptures ready for this sermon. Years ago, I'm not sure exactly when, but I say somewhere between 5 and 10 years ago, at this apartment that I used to stay in, my apartment got broken into, and all that was stolen, that I at least saw that was stolen, was a microwave and a George Foreman grill. Now, first of all, let me say this. The microwave, it was like, I think the cheapest microwave that I had found at Walmart to buy. And the George Foreman grill, I don't even remember how much I paid for it. And I actually still kind of debate whether or not I even bought it or somebody gave it to me or what. I don't recall. But my point is, I didn't lose out financially, really. In other words, I didn't lose things that were super expensive. For example, none of the TVs were stolen. And there were, I had my TV, my roommate, he had his TV. No one had took anything or tried to take anything from our rooms. And I had some pretty good stuff. I had an Xbox that could have got stolen, but now my roommate, he had some stuff in his room that was for real worth some stuff. And so none of his stuff had gotten taken out of his room. So my point is, some of the things that really could have aggravated me or him if it had gotten stolen, money wise, didn't get stolen. But the interesting thing about it was, it seemed like the enemy, because the devil uses people. It seems like the enemy knew what he was doing, because instead of taking something that could have meant something financially, the people that broke in and stole from me stole the microwave and the George Foreman grill. In other words, they stole things that meant something to me simply because it helped me make something to eat. And anybody that knows me knows that I love food. I love something to eat. If you know me, you know the microwave is one of my best friends. It's just, it's wonderful and it's beautiful and it's amazing. It just helps me eat. So, so even though I didn't really lose something money-wise, I didn't lose things that were worth a lot of money, it still kind of bummed me out, because I'm thinking, man, they took some stuff that I use, because I can't cook worth nothing, so that microwave is very beneficial, and, and that grill is very beneficial. I ain't very good with using the stove or the oven, so that microwave and that grill, boy, they were my best friends. So that devil, I'm joking, but I'm being funny, but I'm being serious. It really happened. This really happened, but it's just kind of funny, because it's like, man, the enemy used somebody or some folks to steal my best friends, just the microwave and the grill. Oh, man. So when I went downstairs and found out they had been stolen, and I saw where the glass had been broken out of that back door for somebody to put their hand in and reach down and unlock the door from the inside and all that, they were crafty. But the thing that happened was, when I noticed it, I was kind of mad, but then I kind of wasn't, because I was like, well, at least nothing too expensive was stolen. But then I was kind of mad, because I was like, but it's my microwave and it's my grill. It's helping me eat. But then the thing that got me was a pause, and I was like, wait a second. Did they steal any food? They didn't steal food, did they? So I'm looking in the microwave. I'm looking in the cabinets, hoping they didn't steal the ramen noodles and... I was cool with the fact they didn't steal a TV, but I was concerned about the food. You know, it was cool that an Xbox didn't get stolen or a laptop didn't get stolen, but I was making sure they didn't steal no food, you know. That was really gonna upset me. But anyway, but just looking back on that, it's kind of funny how like my big thing was the food. Like as long as they didn't steal no food, they already took the stuff I used to make the food. But don't tell me they just stole the food too, you know. But they didn't. But but anyway, I was really gonna be upset if they took some food. I was about to tell that police officer, call them back. They stole some food. They stole the ramen noodles. They took the food. But it didn't come down to that. I didn't have to call 911 back again and be like they stole food. But I would have. I would have reported that too. Bless my heart. Bless my crazy heart. But anyway. But something that stood out to me was there was some stuff that was sitting on the microwave. The microwave was mine, but there was some stuff sitting on the microwave that didn't belong to me. It was like some sunglasses and I think some little Jolly Rancher candies or something. But they had took the stuff off the microwave and set it on the counter, and they had folded the glasses up and set the little pieces of candy all neatly together. And my point is, they didn't leave tracks on the floor. They didn't leave a mess. They could have been in a rush and just kind of, brushed all the stuff off the microwave and did this and did that and left a mess the way some burglars do. But instead, they were nice, neat robbers. And so that's something that always kind of stood out. Like, okay, you gonna rob me, but you gonna be nice about it? What is this? But anyway, maybe it's just my goofy way of seeing stuff. I always have a weird way of looking at stuff, just anyway. But I try to find the funny in a lot of stuff, I guess, so maybe that's why that stood out to me. But that really kind of stood out. Like, okay, you gonna do it, but you gonna be nice about it. That's interesting. So thinking about that kind of tickled me, and it kind of brought humor to what has recently happened with me. And for those that are going to follow along in scripture, I'm going to be in Genesis chapter 39, starting out in Genesis, if you want to go ahead and head there. But what has recently happened is this. Last month, I believe it was, something of mine came up missing. And it was an article of clothing, and I won't say specifically what it was. I won't say if it was a shirt or, pants or shorts or a hat or some shoes or a watch or some type of jewelry. I won't say what it was specifically, but I'll just say it was one of my favorite pieces of clothing, and that it was something that in recent months I've wore it a lot. I've wore it a lot. So you've seen me in it. If you're someone that knows me, you've seen me in it a lot. And so it came up missing, and it wasn't that it came up missing that really so much bothered me, because stuff happens. Sometimes we lose things. It just happens. And it wasn't the fact that I felt like I was losing something financially, because it was rather cheap. Due to the connections that I have, I was able to buy this particular item for very, very cheap of whatever the original price was. So I wasn't really out of a lot of money or anything. It wasn't anything like that. But the thing that got me was it didn't make sense how it came up missing. I mean, I can't go into detail, but I'll just say I left it in a spot, and it should have been in the same spot when I came back to it. And there was no one around when I left that spot for someone to come and get it. So for it to just suddenly come up missing just seemed very strange. And so I kind of questioned God about it. Like, God, where did it go? Now, again, I've had stuff come up missing before. Sometimes I just misplace stuff, and sometimes if I look around long enough, I'll find it. But I just couldn't find it, and it just seemed strange. It just seemed like I know I didn't misplace it. It's not that I don't remember where I put it. I know where I put it. It just seems really off. And sometimes when you question God about certain things, especially the simple things, A lot of times you may not get an answer, but sometimes we just naturally ask God, what has happened? What is going on? But surprisingly, I got an answer. And this doesn't happen a whole lot, but every now and then it seems like God will kind of answer me. Maybe he may speak, or maybe he may show me something in a dream, which I dreams a lot. So maybe he may reveal something in a dream, or maybe I'll show up at the right place at the right time to see or hear something from somebody else, or, he has a way of causing the answer to get to you. And I won't explain how the answer was revealed, but I'll just simply say he did get the answer to me. And what he revealed was that it's not that I lost it or that it came up missing, but that it was stolen. And I won't say a lot of details, and honestly, I don't know who for sure took it, but what he did reveal was that there was an agenda. And I won't go into detail about it. It's not for people to know, but for the sake of the sermon, there was an agenda as to why it was taken. And that may not make sense to some people, because some folks would think, well, maybe obviously they just saw you wearing it and they liked it, and so they stole it so they could wear it, or they stole it so they could try to sell it or whatever. And it's not to say that there isn't someone wearing it, and not to say that maybe it wasn't sold to somebody, but what I'm saying is that was not the root of it. That was not the reason for it being stolen, but that there was a hidden agenda as to why it was stolen. So whether or not it's being worn or sold is irrelevant. What has been on my mind is the reasoning behind why. And I'm not even saying I know all of why, but I at least know at least a smidget of why it was taken. And I know that, again, that might not make sense. I know that it doesn't to some, but to some you might be thinking, okay, I kind of get it. But if you don't, you'll understand as I get into scripture here, starting at Genesis chapter 39. Let me say this. Whoever needs this message, and now you're going to see why I said all of what I said. Why I said all of what I said is this. It's not for me, but it's for someone who may be tuning in to listen. Somebody has gone through something similar. And let me just say, and I know y'all have heard me say this a lot, but there have been times where maybe you've gone to church, or you've watched a video of some preacher, but there's been some point where you've heard a preacher say something along the lines of, okay, what I'm talking to y'all about right now is not something I ain't been through. I've gone through, or I am going through the same stuff that I'm preaching to you about. Because a lot of times when God gives someone a message, a lot of times he will use someone to give a word that they can relate to. So they're ministering to a person or to a crowd or to a congregation something that they themselves have experienced. So that way it makes it hard for the listener or listeners to say, well, what does that person know? How can that person preach this to me? How can that person understand what I'm going through if they haven't gone through it? You know what I mean? So a lot of times they'll start out saying, hey, this is my story. This is what I went through in the past, or this is what I'm going through right now. So I'm not just coming to you as somebody that's just trying to get in your business and tell you what to do. This is coming from someone who kind of gets where you're coming from. I get it. So I'm starting this out saying, whoever this message is for, I'm talking to someone who maybe you've had something stolen, and it could be anything. It could be money, it could be material possession. Maybe it's just someone trying to steal your identity, trying to steal your character. But maybe you've had people who you viewed as good people, good Christian folks. Maybe someone you viewed as a good friend. Maybe you've had people suddenly turn their back on you. Maybe you've had people who get close to you, who seem good, suddenly just turn on you. And maybe people have taken from you. Maybe people have lied on you. Maybe people have bared false witness against you. But it seems like 1 minute things are good, and then the next minute people who were once close to you have turned away, and you've sat back and you've thought, wait a minute, I don't know what I've done to deserve this. It seems like I was good to that person or to those people. It seemed like they liked me. It seemed like we had things in common. It seemed like things were good between us, but all of a sudden it seems as though there was an agenda. There was an agenda as to why people suddenly were willing to be close to me, but suddenly turned away. It's strange when 1 minute the people that were so close to you, or the person that was so close to you, will turn their back and all of a sudden team up with folks who are your enemies in secret. It's strange how someone who could be so close to you would suddenly turn from you and be close to people who once did them wrong, but now they're friends with them or friends with them again. And they team up with these people to come up against you, and you're left standing alone, and you've got all these people, whether it be ex-friends and enemies and frenemies. Y'all know the frenemies, right? The people that pretend to be your friend, but really they're your enemy. So you got people coming out of the woodworks, showing their true colors, teaming up. And you're puzzled because you're thinking, I thought things were going this way, but now they're going that way. And you're wondering why people are being sneaky around you and acting funny around you. You're walking into places and people that you were once cool with that suddenly won't have anything to do with you, but you see them grouped up, and anytime you're in the same place or the same vicinity as them, you just see them walking around in groups doing this. Pss, 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 pss. They're whispering, but looking at you while they're whispering. Uh-oh, come on. So they're talking about you amongst each other, and they're laughing and giggling, and they've got these evil smirks and these evil grins on their faces while they talk about you and laugh, and you know something is up, but you don't quite know what's going on. The people that were talking to you, the people that listen, that you felt like you could share anything with, and they would share anything with you, suddenly now they don't want to talk to you, but now they want to talk to everybody else about you. Uh-oh, I'm going somewhere now. Come on. I'm hitting on something for somebody that's going to hear this. They would talk to you, and they would spend hours with you. Y'all were just connected, but now all of a sudden there's been a disconnect, and now all they want to do, come on, is talk all about you to these other folks over here. And you're wondering what you've done to deserve it, but the problem really is not within you, it's within them. You see, it's like that old saying, misery loves company. And so what has happened is you've been around some folks who, listen, you've been believing for things, and they've been believing for things, and y'all have had hopes and dreams, and you've been through some things, and all of a sudden, when they feel like they don't get what they want, when they think that the things that they've been believing for they won't get, but they think you might get it, jealousy enters in. Envy enters in. Pride enters in. A Judas spirit enters in. And so now all of a sudden people back away from you, but they keep their eyes on you. They find avenues and ways to keep tabs on you. Either they'll watch you on social media, or if you delete or block them, they'll find ways to use other people to watch you. They may block you 1 minute, then unblock you, then block you again. They want to see what you're doing, but they don't want you to see what they're doing. Uh-oh. Come on now. Come on. I'm getting somewhere now for somebody. Come on. Oh, man. Anyway, So come on. So now people who listen, you're trying to figure out what you could have done wrong, and it's not even from an arrogant place of doing something wrong. And you know how sometimes people do you wrong and then they act like they don't know what they did, but you know that they know what they done did. It's not even like you're coming from an arrogant place of thinking, I haven't done nothing to them, but you really know you have. It's not even that. You know you haven't done anything. You're trying to figure out what you could have done to set certain things off, to set some negativity in motion. But it seems like the more you try to refrain from drama, the more these people over here who love drama purposely try to find ways to get you stirred up and to get you out of character, come on, to try to make you out to be someone that you're not. And here's the thing, that's what it is. Some of you right now, you're trying to figure out right now why it seems like people that you were so good to are detaching from you. And why it seems like folks that you thought were such good people, it's like you're suddenly seeing sides of them that you know other folks can't see. You know you can't even tell folks how people are treating you because they won't believe it. You don't even waste your time talking to folks about what this person is doing and saying about you, because you know other folks won't believe it, because the folks doing you wrong have done such a good job of pretending to be so nice and sweet and innocent and so soft spoken and don't get loud and don't start nothing and oh, I hate drama. And you're seeing the real sides of them. You're seeing how they love drama and they love purposely stirring it up, and some of them love standing in the background watching, acting like they don't like drama, but they're watching the drama play out. Come on. Watching people try to stir stuff up. Come on. So now you start seeing the true colors in certain folks that other people don't see, because they've been acting. They've been out here acting. And so now the act is up, the jig is up. You see them for who they are, and you're trying to figure out why me, why I'm in the middle of this. And so now you've got these folks, come on, who they lie on you. They bear false witness. They take from you. They steal from you. They don't just steal things, they steal friends. Uh-oh. Every time you get close to somebody that they know, they try to take that person from you. Uh-oh, come on. I'm telling something now. They want to listen. They just want to see you by yourself. They don't want you, listen, they don't want to have friends in common with you or nothing. They just take. And it ain't that you've done something wrong. It's that you've done something right that's got them mad, that's got them jealous. And so now, come on, they're just taking stuff, taking people, trying to take opportunities. And the purpose behind all of this is simply to make you seem different from who and what you really are. But it's projection. They are projecting who they really are onto you. For example, they may be trying to make you seem like a liar and a thief, when in reality, they're lying on you and stealing from you. Oh my goodness. Come on. I'm going somewhere. They're projecting themselves and who they really are onto you. So they do things against you, but they twist certain things and twist certain situations and show certain things, but don't tell the whole story. And they act and they got their script. Come on. But they make you look some type of way around other folks when you're not around. because they love that. They love that drama. They love the thrill of taking somebody who seems to be in good standing and running their name through the mud and making them seem like a bad person and making it seem like they live a double life and making it seem like they're not who everyone else thinks they are, but really that's them. Really, it's them living a double life. Really, it's them acting one way behind the scenes and a totally different person in public. That's them, but they like to project it onto other folks because it makes them feel better about themselves. So they act like they got it together and they look pretty and they look handsome and they can dress and they got all these friends and they got the nice vehicle and they can post up the nice stuff on social media. You know what I mean? Looking sharp with the boyfriend, looking sharp with the husband, looking good with the girlfriend on the arm. Come on. Having a party at somebody's wedding, hanging out at the beach, hanging out over here doing this, posting a few scriptures here and there. Come on. So they can do these things and present certain things to make it seem a certain way. Come on. But in reality, behind the scenes, they're totally different people. So what has happened is, listen, really they're miserable. I'm just going to get down to it. They're miserable, which is why misery loves company. They're miserable. So they click up with other people that can be equally as miserable with them. And so they present themselves one way to many, but behind the scenes, they're them true selves. And so now it's easy to just tear you down. Why? So you'll be just as miserable as they really are. So that you really will be how they are secretly. Oh my goodness. It's a secret. Listen, how they really are and what they really think and how they really feel is a secret to many. And if they were exposed, it would be all over for them. They'd be embarrassed. They'd be humiliated. And they know that, but that's why they love seeing other people embarrassed and humiliated. They won't tell you that because it takes away from the Christian facade. But it's all about agenda. Look at this, Genesis 39. I got to go ahead and get into this. Genesis 39. But if this is for you, and you're wondering why, you're wondering why all of a sudden it seems like people you can't think of anything you could have done to just hurt them so bad that they would want to hurt you so bad. It's like you literally don't get it. It's like if you were a cartoon character, there'd be a question mark sitting over your head because you're thinking, huh? And you can't figure it out. You can't figure it out why the people you were so good to have turned on you, and why they're clicking up with people that you thought were good folks that cared, and now you're seeing the true colors of folks. People that were your friends are now friends with your enemies, and now they look at you funny. And now you're being lied on and people saying all kinds of stuff and trying to spread rumors that are nowhere near true, but you know that they know it's not true. So it's not just a rumor, it's false witnessing, trying to say they saw you do this and they saw you do that, or they take things that did happen and they twist it in such a way that the context is way out of context. So you got to understand, it's not about what you've done wrong. It's the fact that you're trying to do something right. It's the fact that even though maybe you're not always getting what you want, when you want it, how you want it, yet you still serve God, there's something about that drives them nuts. There's something about the fact that you won't give up on your dreams and you won't keep being you and who God created you to be. There's something about that drives certain people nuts, because when they give up, they want you to give up, and because you haven't given up, and because you haven't gone through the motions and played the roles, and because you refuse to be as miserable as they are, and because you might just obtain something that they feel like they can't obtain, And because you live the life that they feel like they could not live, because they might be embarrassed, because they might be talked about, because they feel like they couldn't pull it off the way that you do, the easy thing for them is to gather up with other folks that are just as miserable as they are to now see you be miserable. So let me say this one last time as I get into scripture. It's not about you doing something wrong. It's about what you've done that's right. All right, Genesis 39. Now we're going to be reading about Joseph. We know who Joseph is. Joseph is known as the guy with the coat of many colors. Joseph was the one who, he was in a family of 12 brothers, but his father favored him more than all his other brothers. God had, Joseph had favor with God. God would give him these dreams of things to come, of things in the future that would play out, and things of that nature. And people were jealous. His own brothers were jealous of him. They just called him that dreamer, that master of dreams. And they meant it in a very sarcastic way. In other words, because of their jealousy, wanted to belittle him in a way, to downplay who he was and what his dreams were about and what God was doing and wanting to do in his life. They just couldn't stand it. Instead of being happy for him, they just were jealous, and so they conspired against him when he wasn't around. And what ends up happening is, they get a plan and they decide, hey, let's do away with him. Let's cause him some trouble, because if we cause him enough trouble, we'll see if his dreams and his plans and his desires, we'll see if they come to pass if we interfere. So they want to interfere with what they believe to be his destiny. And so what they do, they put him down in a pit, a big hole in the ground, which he cannot get out of by himself. And then they decide to sell him into slavery. But then let's see what happens. Genesis 39, starting at the beginning, it says, "And Joseph was brought down to Egypt. And Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer of his house, and all that he had he put into his hand. And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored." So things seem like they might be looking up for Joseph. He was done wrong by those who should have loved and embraced him. Not once, but twice, first in the pit, then into slavery. But it seems like things are going to be on the up and up for him, because he is put into the custody of a man named Potiphar, who is an officer under Pharaoh, who is the ruler over all of Egypt. And so he's put into a pretty nice position because he has favor with God. Listen, it lets us know that he has favor with God regardless of what's going on. God still has his hand in Joseph's life. He still has his hand in Joseph's steps. He's still guiding his steps. Even in these rough things that he's going through, God is still with him. See, he goes through some things that would make people question and say, well, where is your God now? What about these dreams now? What about all these plans for your future now? They won't come to pass with what's going on with you now. But yet God is still with him, and God is a way maker. So regardless of what has happened in Joseph's past, God is still with him, and he's still working things out for his good. Because all things work for the good of those that love the Lord. And so, because of his favor with God, he ends up having favor with Potiphar. And so Potiphar adores Joseph so much, he gives him access to his household. It's almost like he's next in command to his own household, you know. And so Joseph seems to have it good. He's not really treated that much like a slave anymore. But let's look at what happens in verse 7. It says, "And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, Lie with me. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, Behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? And it came to pass as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her or to be with her. And it came to pass after this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, by his clothes." Listen to this. "She caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. And it came to pass when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, See, he hath brought in a Hebrew unto us to mock us. And he came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. And it came to pass when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled and got him out. And she laid up his garment by her until his Lord came home. And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, The Hebrew servant which thou hast brought unto us came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled out. And it came to pass when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, After this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in the prison." So what has happened is, things seem to be on the up and up for Joseph, but Potiphar's wife, his master's wife, starts looking at Joseph. And she decides she wants him, and so she wants him to have sex with her. She's saying, Lie with me, and he won't do it. He decides to maintain his good character. He doesn't want his integrity tarnished, and he knows he's in a good position, but he wants to be, in right standing with God and right standing with Potiphar. He doesn't want to do anything wrong, but this woman keeps trying to tempt him and tempt him and tempt him, and no matter how great the temptation is, he doesn't fall for it. And so what happens is, it's like she's trying to force him into this, but he flees from her. But she had grabbed his garment, his clothing in the process, kept his clothes. He didn't care. He was just trying to get away. But she kept the clothes, And she later takes the clothes. Now, this is the part that you got to listen to, because now it's going to make sense for some folks what I mean when I say sometimes people will do and take things that are yours that don't belong to them, but they do it for a reason. It may not be to take something to use it or to wear it or to sell it, but they may have an agenda. So listen, this is what she does. She has Joseph's garment. She's not trying to wear it. She's not trying to put it on somebody. She's not trying to sell it. She takes his garment and she uses it to tell everybody, look, Joseph, this guy that y'all like so much, this guy that y'all really like his character and y'all really think he's just this good guy, this man of God, this Hebrew. Let me tell you what he did. He was trying to force himself on me. He was trying to get me in the bed, and when it didn't work, listen, I cried out and he yelled and he took off, but I still have his clothes, and his clothes is proof. Uh-oh. So she used what she had of his to try to twist things. Uh-oh, come on. She was trying to make it seem like he was trying to force himself upon her when the whole time she was trying to get him in bed. But because he wouldn't do it, she didn't want to be showed up. Come on. She didn't want to be exposed. She didn't want the risk of what she had done to get out in the open. She didn't want to be put to shame. She didn't want the risk of that. So because her pride is in the way, and because she wants people to view her in a certain light, what she does is she twists the scenario and takes advantage of the fact that she has his garment and that he's nowhere to be found to say, hey, look at what he did. And here's the proof. Why would I lie? I mean, if what I'm saying is false, how do I have his garment? Whoever needs this word, I hope you're getting it. I hope you're getting it. Listen, it ain't about you doing something wrong. It's about you doing something right. Maybe somebody was trying to get you to do something that you knew was not going to be right in God's eyes. Maybe it was something that applies to this story. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe someone, listen, maybe someone was trying to get you to fornicate with them or do adultery with them and you wouldn't do it. Maybe you were serious about trying to wait till marriage for sex and somebody didn't like it. So now they got to try to make it seem one way, but they ain't being honest. Oh my goodness. They ain't being honest about some stuff. They ain't being honest about why they got your stuff. Uh-oh, come on. Maybe it's something else. Maybe they're trying to make it seem like you've been out robbing, but they done robbed you of your stuff, but they trying to make it seem like you're the thief. But they got your stuff. But they can't say you got this and this and this of theirs or anything of anybody else's. Why? Because it's not you, it's them. But they got to project who they are onto you to try to make you miserable because they're miserable, because misery loves company. Oh my goodness. Maybe they're the liars, but they got to make you out to be the liars. Maybe they're the cheaters, but they got to make you out to be a cheater. Maybe they're the hoes, but they got to make you out to be the hoe. Maybe maybe they're users and liars and beautiful thieves, but they've got to make you out to be those very things. But look at this. It says 21, it says, but the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand and all the prisoners that were in the prison. And whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. And the keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him. And that which he did, the Lord made it prosper. So regardless of what had happened, regardless of the fact that he's now in prison over a lie, guess what? He's got favor with folks in the prison. He's got favor with the guard. God is still working some stuff out. And the cool thing is, here while he's in the prison. This right here is a setup. See, God allowed it because, listen, him being in this prison put him in a position. The position that he was in caused his gift to make room for him, because he not only did he have dreams, but he could interpret dreams, and God used him to interpret the dreams for some folks. Listen, one of them may have forgotten about him, but sooner or later, the word got out about him to Pharaoh. When Pharaoh had a dream he couldn't interpret, Pharaoh ended up coming to Joseph saying, can you interpret this? He did it, interpreted it correctly. He ended up saving these people who were about to go into a famine, because he told them, listen, the dreams that God has given you is revealing you of the famine to come. So we got to store up now. I can even tell you the amount of years it's going to be and everything. So I know how much we need to get ready and store up for it. And sure enough, he was right. They had stored up enough corn and resources to last them through the famine. Come on. Because of the favor that Joseph had with God, and because he did not give in to the temptations, and because he continued to live for God. Regardless of what went on around him, he did not turn his back on God. And so God did not turn his back on him or fail him, regardless of what positions he was put in. God allowed him to be put into that final position of the prison, which would later lead him to the palace. He went from a pit to Potiphar's house to a prison to the palace. He went from being under someone who was under Pharaoh to being the one who's under Pharaoh. Let me say that again. Joseph went from being under the person, Potiphar, who was right under Pharaoh, to Joseph himself being the one that's right under Pharaoh. That's exactly what God does. In chapter 41, as I said, Pharaoh made him next in command, just right under him. But when you look at verses 45, I love 45 and 46. It says, and Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphnath-Paaneah, and he gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On. And Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt. A couple of things you can get out of that. First of all, I find it funny how he started out having problems during what should have been a good time. He had problems with a woman that lied on him and bared false witness against him and planted false evidence against him, all because he would not fornicate or have adultery with her. But then next thing you know, just a few chapters later, he's presented with a wife. He's presented with a woman who would do him right. Maybe somebody needs to hear that. I'm telling you, when I say this stood out to me, it stood out to me. Maybe somebody needs to hear that right now. You may have had your issues in the past with somebody who listen, you may have been good for them, but they weren't going to be good to you. They didn't want to stop being a user. They didn't want to stop being a manipulator. They didn't really want you. They just wanted you for what they could get out of you. And so now that you've broken the tie, now that you fled from them, regardless of what they have left of yours, listen, you fled from them. And so now you've just set yourself up to be open for the Lord to bring someone to you. Oh my goodness. Oh man. You just set yourself up to be open for God to bring you someone who ain't gotta manipulate you, who's not gonna try to get you in bed before y'all are married. Oh my goodness. And it also says he was 30. Joseph was 30 when this happens. A lot of times people will look at you once your 20s are over, and they'll look at you and they'll say, well, at the age you're at now, you should have accomplished this, that, and the other. You're taking too long to get it together. You should be much further ahead in your life. But here we see at the age of 30, God causes some things to play out in Joseph's life that caused him to excel past many others who were way ahead of him in life. And God got all the glory, and I'm sure Joseph had no problem with God getting the glory. He was just grateful. After all he had been through, he was just grateful to be where he was at. But my point is, continue to believe what God reveals to you and the dreams that he stores in you, and the dreams, your own personal dreams and desires. Don't give up. Don't be concerned with what people say and what people try to do to try to stop what God has in store for you, because what is for you is for you. And the only one that can ruin it for you is you. People may plot and scheme against you, but it is what it is. But sometimes it has to happen, because the things that people do against you actually propels you. It looked like Joseph was going down when he went in the pit, like his life was also going down. But really, he just kept being positioned and repositioned until he was in the position. Let me say that again. He kept being repositioned so that he could get in the position. Anyway, let me wrap this up by saying this. Jesus, our Lord and Savior Jesus can relate. See, Jesus was also someone who was done wrong by those who should have embraced him the most. He was in an awkward position because, listen, although he was going to reach out to many, and he was going to reach out to those John 3:16 folks, God so loved the world, whosoever, right? Not just Jews, not just, Hebrew, not just, any and everybody except Samaritans. That's not what it said. Listen, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, so that whosoever shall believe, come on, those who will believe should have everlasting life. Not just people of a certain race or people born in a certain place. Man, I'm just rhyming today. I don't know. But you get my point. The people who should have received him, which were the ones that he went to first, when he was trying to tell them, listen, what God has planned now is bigger than what y'all know. It's bigger than just the law that y'all know. It's bigger than the old law. Listen, I'm the new living covenant. And what I'm sent here by the Father to do, since I'm about my Father's business, is I'm trying to show y'all that there's a new, better way in which you guys will be grafted in with the Gentiles in such a way that it will bring hope to the whole world, that possibly the world may be saved, depending on whether or not they choose to believe in and on me. Not, these people are the only ones that can be saved, and these are just the chosen people, and these, no. It's not based off of your race. It's not based off of your bloodline and what family you were born into. It's going to be all about whosoever chooses to believe. In other words, it's a heart thing now. It's not an outward appearance thing. It's not a skin color thing. It's a heart thing. And those very people who should have embraced him, his own folks, they rejected him. But the more Jesus kept going with his ministry, it seemed like the people who benefited from Jesus greatly, it seemed like those who latched on to Jesus, those who loved Jesus the most, those who followed after him the most, it seemed like the people that really gravitated toward Jesus and benefited from him the most were those who may have not looked like him, who were not from the same background as him. Those who were not one of him were the ones who received him. But those who were of Jesus' lineage, those were the ones who had the hardest time receiving him. They were the ones most prone to reject him. But it just positioned Jesus to excel, his ministry to excel at such an amazing rate. In other words, even though it was bad that he was rejected, it was a good thing. Because all things work for the good of those. See, listen. We know Jesus loved the Father because he and the Father are one, and he said he was about his Father's business. So all of that, good, bad, and ugly, worked for his good, for the good of him, for the good of his ministry, for the good of completing prophecy and completing his calling, so that he would be crucified and buried, but resurrected. And so people would see the power in his blood, the power in his resurrection. They would see his divinity was true, that he was serious, and that he was for real when he, listen, when they mocked him and said, King of the Jews, but they did it mockingly, they found out that they really were right. But that he wasn't just the King of the Jews, he was the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Come on. But he was greater than any Pharaoh could have ever been to them. You got to understand, whoever this is for. I know it may suck now. I know, I get it. But I'm telling you, the lies, the false witnessing, all these things, the stealing from you, people trying to manipulate you to get what you want and then backing up. And getting with folks that you know, it's suspicious. Well, why are you now detached from me, but attached to these folks right here that you know don't mean me no well, and used to not mean you no well either, but you're all up on them. You're joined at the hip with them now. Now they love you. Now they need you. 5 minutes ago they was talking bad about you, and you was having to tell me how they did you, but now you over here with them. Oh, goodness. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. But now you see why. Don't flip out. It's not you, it's them. Misery loves company. I'm telling you, keep doing what you're doing. Don't let them get you out of character. Don't let them get you worked up and wound up. It's just a part of their plan to try to make you miserable. And no matter what lies, no matter what deceit, no matter what temptation comes your way, I'm telling you, don't worry about it. Keep focusing on the Lord. Keep your joy. Keep your peace. Let people talk. Let people talk. Let people talk. Because soon enough, when you and they least expect it, God is going to make a way to shut it down. The truth will be opened up. The deceitful ones will be exposed. And who knows, you might even get some of your stuff back. I'll pray us out of here. Heavenly Father, I thank you for another time to minister another word. Lord, I thank you, God. I love you, Lord. I appreciate you working in my life. And so, Lord, I pray that you would also just continue to work in the lives of other people that have not forgotten you, that have not forgotten the dreams that you've instilled in them, that have not forgotten the hopes and the plans and the desires and the gifts that you stored within them, Lord. Lord, those who have not forgotten you and who have not forgotten your promises unto them, those who have continued to focus on you and seek you regardless of how much they were rejected, regardless of how much other people did them wrong, but they continue to seek after you, Lord. Those people, Lord, show those people your goodness. Show those people how you're a way maker, how you'll make a way for them when it seems like there's no way. And Lord, show those people how you handle things. Because the word says, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. So as your people have stepped back, stood back, not tried to be vengeful, Lord, I pray that you would step in and you would have your way in the situation. Lord, I give you all the praise, glory, and honor. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.